Face the Nation moderator and CBS News political director John Dickerson is with us, along with our Nancy Cordes, who has been traveling the country covering the campaign. Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start with you, John. Does this simply deepen the people that are already supporting him, making them more fervent, or does it add new supporters within his campaign for the Republican nomination?
I think there is a core group of Trump supporters that we've seen is unshakable. They support him, and the more he gets involved in the controversy, the tighter they cling to him, in part because the greatest thing they like about him is they think he says things others do not. He speaks the truth to them. Sometimes he gets his facts wrong. That doesn't matter. To them, he speaks a deeper truth. So when he gets attacked, he has been able to consolidate his support. We'll see if there's anything different in this case. But what it does is what it's done in the previous instances where he's gotten in trouble, which is that it is going to wall him off in terms of his ability to get a larger share of the vote. He's got the Trump voters, but he's making himself that much more difficult to get any other kind of vote.
Nancy, can all those Republicans in Congress who are now speaking out, can they stop Donald Trump?
They can't. There is no war room somewhere where Republican leaders or donors are hatching a plan to bring down Donald Trump, because everything they've tried has failed, and they'll say very openly, we're out of ideas. And this is a real problem, for instance, for Senate Republicans. There are 7 Senate Republicans who are up for re-elections in states that President Obama won twice. And Republicans really fear that if Donald Trump is the nominee, those seats are gone.
Is there any evidence so far that it's hurting the Republican Party?
Yes, because Republicans can't plan for running their re-election campaigns. They know that if Donald Trump is at the top of the ticket, they're going to have to try in many ways to distance themselves from the nominee because he alienates Hispanics, he alienates women. And so they're sort of in a holding pattern, watching to see if he gets the nomination, and then they have to change up their strategies.
You know, one data point that was not lost on Donald Trump was this new poll that 68% of his supporters would vote for him if he departed the GOP and ran as an independent. That's a real possibility.
That's that core group I'm talking about. Very sticky voters. They stay with Donald Trump. And the challenge that Nancy was talking about with the senators who are running the Republican Party and others was articulated in a memo that was leaked last week from the committee that's involved in trying to re-elect the senators. And it said, on the one hand, Donald Trump is a misguided missile. They worried about just the thing that is happening this week. He would say something outrageous, and then every Republican would have to say, do you agree with it or not? That was on the one hand. On the other hand, they said, my gosh, he's bringing in all these new voters. He's tapping into an anger of a lot of voters who may not sign up with what he's saying, but they feel, finally, here's somebody who's saying something with conviction, and we don't see that from
But
politicians.
didn't he sign a pledge not to run as a third party?
Donald, you can get out of contracts. Okay. Donald Trump is very. If you can get out of the Constitution, you can get out of the contract you may have signed.
Republicans have lost 5 of the 6 presidential races in terms of the popular vote. We know you still get elected by electoral votes,
right.
But wasn't there an autopsy done by the Republican National Committee after the last election? And what did they find about what the next Republican nominee needs to do in order to win?
Well, they found that the next nominee needs to appeal to Hispanic voters, needs to appeal to all minorities, needs to create a bigger tent. They couldn't have anticipated that Donald Trump would wade into the race the way that he did and sort of mess up their best laid plans. And the problem is that it's dragging all the contenders to the right because they're all trying to go up against him.
In the end, the only thing that will stop Donald Trump is to lose a primary.
Which means he has to have an alternative. And part of the dynamic we're seeing here is there are too many other alternative candidates, which means the non-Trump vote gets split. And also, when you look at those alternatives, they've condemned him, but nobody is coming out and speaking loud and proud for the alternative worldview, giving a long, strong speech that says, here's why Donald Trump is wrong about American values, about the security situation. Lindsey Graham's the only one who's actually said more than a few condemning things, who articulates what the danger is of this, who makes the alternative argument. You can't beat something with nothing. And there is no alternative out there who is really being as strong an advocate for their worldview as Donald Trump is being a strong advocate for his worldview.
They condemn, but when it comes time, will you support the nominee? The question is, the answer seems to be yes.
The answer absolutely is yes.
Yeah.
No matter how many bad things they say about him, they would still support him as the nominee.
They don't want to alienate his voters.
Nancy and John, thank you so much.
Thank you.